Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got to bring you up to speed on a number of things. First, let's talk about the trial of Daryl George. This is the black teenager in Texas whose Locs created a huge controversy. He had a one-day trial today, and I'll share with you what the judge had to say in this case. Also, let's talk about the economic life of Black America, underpaid and underbanked. We'll be checking in with Dr. Moore, Dr. Edmund Moore, who talks about financial literacy and what does that mean? How do we change our financial situation? We'll have that conversation. Also later on, folks, let's talk a little bit about hip hop's at the Crossroads. I check in with Mr. Alvin Jones, the creator of BET's Rap City, to give us the latest about what he sees on the landscape 50 years later. And we're going to have a conversation about the war between parents and children, looking at this unfortunate situation with comedian actress Monique and her son Shalon. Folks, stay with us. This is all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Let's get to it as we're streaming live, folks, on a number of different platforms. First, check us out on our own home platform of blackstarnetwork.com. Make sure you do your due diligence. Check us out there as we have streaming a number of dope programs, special conversations, interviews that Big Brother Roland has been doing, and so much more. So just go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free on all of your devices. Follow us on social media at Black Star Network. And of course, we ask for your financial support as we are embarking upon this fantastic mission of bringing content like no other space on the web. So again, go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. We're also streaming on Amazon platforms, on Amazon News and your Fire TV. You can check us out there. We're also streaming on Prime Video. You can check us out there. Find us on the Prime Video app under Live TV The News, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video then Live TV The News. And we're on Freevee. You can see us now under News for the Freevee network. Just take a look at Black Star Network. And also we're on Plex TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you can just search for Black Star Network on Plex TV or find us under Live TV, The News and Opinion. And we're also streaming on Big Brother Roland Martin's social media pages. So you can find us on his Facebook page and on his YouTube channel. And big shout out to the online culture crew that is gathered there on the X platform, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Thank you all so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Really, really excited to reconnect with all of you as I see you all gathered here on the chat right now. So we will definitely acknowledge all of those who are coming in. And if you're a first-time watcher of the show, welcome to the culture. This is one of the few places where your voice makes a difference and it matters as we have an interactive conversation with you about the topics and about the issues that are important to us. All right, folks, let me do this. Let's talk about what's coming out of Texas first. Wanted to bring you the latest about this. Y'all, we've been talking about this, folks. Y'all remember this. The case of 18-year-old Daryl George in Texas. This is the 18-year-old brother whose Locs has created a firestorm of controversy around personal expression and the Crown Act, that piece of legislation that protects expressive hairstyles, particularly hairstyles that are worn by Black folks in this country. Well, after months, folks, y'all remember, this is back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. He was put out of his school as a result of him refusing to change his locks. And at least when you get a chance, let's just post some pictures of little brother Daryl George, 18 years old. The district decided to take the situation to the next level by putting him out. And then the lawsuit was filed. And then next thing you know, we are at this point. Now, this is the latest, and that's Daryl George right there. That's Daryl George, and that's from earlier today, folks. Because now it has been officially ruled by the Texas judge who has ruled in favor of the school district and basically stating that the district can restrict the length of male students' natural hair. Isn't this something else? Yeah, folks. The judge says today that the state's Crown Act does not make it unlawful for school dress codes to limit a student's hair length. Of course, this is a huge blow to Daryl George and to himself and to his family. But this was something that has been discussed for months. And it's very, very unfortunate. I want to share with you just what came out of CNN. Take a look at this, folks. The district's dress code allows students to wear locks, but take a look. But let's go back. Let's go back to the previous let's go back to the previous comment on that, if we can go back to it. All right. Well, let me just read it out for you, folks. For quote one, the district's dress code allows students to wear locks hairstyles, but places limits on the length of male students' hair. It states that boys' hair will not extend below the eyebrows, below the earlobes, or below the top of a t-shirt collar. Y'all remember last September, the school district filed a declaratory judgment lawsuit asking the court to decide if the Barber Hills Independent School District dress and grooming code policy limiting student hair length does not violate the Crown Act. And if you look here at the third paragraph, Daryl George and his family have refused to cut the teens' locks and have argued the state's Crown Act prohibits such policies. They also filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against the school officials and Texas state leaders, including Governor Greg Abbott, alleging they have failed to enforce the state law and have caused emotional distress. Wow. So we may see something more happening with this, but as it stands at this moment today, folks, a Texas judge has ruled in favor of the school district, Barber Hill, and essentially saying that they had did the right thing and disciplining disciplining Daryl George for his hair length. I want to get your take on this, folks. I want to get your take on this because this is something that I didn't expect to see come. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I didn't expect to see come. I thought that once it got to the court system, like, okay, they're going to see that there's no real merit to what the school district has to say. But this is Texas, right? This is Texas, so we can just sum it up, I guess, like that. Let me hear what y'all got to say. Sean Ryan, you said that's a bunch of BS. It's against the First Amendment. It's not like he's going to school wearing just a Speedo, claiming right of self-expression. I agree, Sean. I agree. I totally agree. Big C checking in. You say this is crazy. Shaking my head. Absolutely. Robin Welch, you said the fact that he has to go to trial for wearing locks is insane. My hair is in locks. Yeah, so is mine. I wish somebody would mess with me about my hairstyle. His locks are tied up and above his ears. Yeah, absolutely. My sister Corinna, you checked in. Woo! I'm mad as beep. Peace, crew. I hear that. I'm mad too. I'm blown away. I'm really blown away. This young man, Daryl George, he had missed like 80% of the time that he was supposed to be in the classroom with his friends. And it was reported that just before the trial, he said he felt isolated. He didn't say he was going through any depression or anything, but I mean, understandably, he felt alone and felt like this punishment, these consequences were so unjust that he just felt isolated. My concern is this, folks, that this case could possibly set a precedent in other states where the Crown Act exists, and that might be a problem moving forward. I don't know if any of you share the same sentiment. Miss T Marie 83, welcome to the chat. You said, I'd love to see the original complaint. What idiot is so small-minded that they felt they need to disrupt this young man's life and education over this BS? Can't believe this is America 2024. Miss T Marie, welcome to America. Pauline Hurt, you say F Texas. Wow. Big C, you said elections are critical. Come on. Donna Sparks, you said, of course the judge ruled against him. It's Texas, for heaven's sake. My grandson went through the same thing, and my daughter ended up putting him in private school, and the whole issue just went away. Y'all remember that when we had this initial conversation, and we've been following this story for what, months now? Y'all remember I was saying, well, do y'all think that the mother should just kind of take him out of the school, that particular school district, and move him to another place? It looks like that may be the case at this point. Let me see. WW Records 1, you said, how do they know his hair length if it was always pinned up? Come on. Come on. Deidre Hall, you said, and I knew this was coming. Come on. Absolutely. Lori Parks, you know what, though? I'm gonna be honest with you, Deidre. I thought that the judge would not rule. I thought that there was some violation of rights here. Now, maybe there may be another case, like a civil case, that may be coming, where they feel like the violation of his personal rights, but we will have to see. Lori Parks, you said superintendent put a personal vendetta newspaper ad attacking the child and his family members, making racist comments, statements, and more in that newspaper ad. Yeah. We talked about that, Lori. You're absolutely right. Damon, Pastor Damon, Big Brother Damon Blissett, you say this is dumb. This has nothing to do with educating our children. Absolutely not. But again, this is America. I'm going back to what Miss T. Marie said. She's surprised. I'm not necessarily surprised that this is the state of things. I mean, look, our very existence is under scrutiny and attack right now as Black folks in this country. So I'm not surprised that the follicles coming from our head are under that same attack. I'm not surprised that the clothes that we wear on our skin may be under attack. I'm not surprised that the places where our feet trod will be under attack. I mean, this is where we are. My sister Karen Connor, you said this is an outrage and discrimination. Does this apply to Black, biracial, and male students with straight hair, or only super curly hair of Black male students? Absolutely. Good question. Good question. I want to see. I wish we could see the hairstyles of other students, right, Karen, at that particular school. And can y'all imagine, as we close out on this real quick, can y'all imagine what this will do to the other Black students in that school district, at Barber Hill Independent School, in that school district? Can y'all imagine? And you know what my take is, y'all? At this point, take him out of school, put him in someplace else. He's already missed that critical amount of time. The school year is over. Maybe he can find an alternative way over the summer to kind of recoup some of those credits. But hey, if they don't want you here, and you fought the good fight, you fought the good fight. But my hope is that for the other Black parents, there might be some white parents and Latino parents as well, that they see the situation, they see the craziness of the situation, and they speak out, speak truth to power in that part of the country. Shirley J. Baker, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the crew. You say we have never been free. Shaking my head. Mm-hmm. Never been free. Mike Deasy, you said, I'm sure there are kids there with green and purple hair. Come on, man. Come on, Mike. Come on, man. Mike, you know it. You know it. It's high school. Kids probably had punk rock styles, green color hair, everything else. But it's little brother Daryl George that has to be the example for the student. I don't think this story is going to go away in terms of what could potentially happen. But I hope this really emboldens folks, not the school district, but I hope it emboldens the parents and the students to say, you know what? This is absolutely insane. We're going to do some walkouts. We're going to do something to make the district feel that this was unfair and unjust. And more importantly, they're going to know that personal expression is not a threat. Y'all remember, very quickly, y'all remember in that ad that the superintendent put out in the Houston Chronicle, that he talks about conformity, the importance of conformity, of being able to conform in America, how that is a value system of the district. I'm gonna just let that marinate on you. that we need to conform if we want it to be seen as American. Well, well, well. Coretta, you said it. Walkouts and protests won't change unless they reinforce it with their vote. Let's see how many people vote. We have to see. We have to see. But this is absolutely insane, to say the least. Look, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's shift gears a little bit, folks. Man, oh man. Can we talk about the economic life of Black America? We're talking about just the hairstyles of Black America. Now I'm going to talk about the money situation that's facing us, as there's new reports and new research that shows that we are not just underpaid, but we're also underbanked. I'm going to share with you what that means. We're going to be checking in with Dr. Edmund Moore, who is who is an author. He talks about financial literacy on the other side. So stay with us. We're just getting started here on The Coach on the Black Star Network.
Check this out. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are investing a record $7 billion into HBCUs. Billions for campus improvements, grants, and debt relief. Billions more for HBCUs. Endless possibilities for us.
You heard why we're marching, and it's really a launch. It's not even a march. We're launching.
That's right.
A 42-week campaign. March the 2nd at 10 o'clock in Raleigh and 33 other state capitals and the District of Columbia. This is a historic move to mobilize the most powerful untapped block of voters in this country.
That's right.
Poor and low wealth voters who make up 87 million votes. And it's never been tried before. Never been tried before in history. At the same time, same message, same focus. And when that power turns loose, they will not be able to figure out the political calculus. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to shake things up. I'm ready to get up out of the valley. I'm ready for God to put his spirit on us. I'm ready to be used to change this nation. And what we're saying is, can't we come together? Can't we come together around an agenda? You ain't got to like everything about Reverend Barber. You don't have to like everything about Sangria. You don't have to like everything about Long Choir. But can we come together and say, it's time to end poverty as the fourth leading cause of death? It's time to have $15 and a living wage indexed with inflation. So every time inflation goes up, the minimum wage goes up. It's time to have health care for all. It's time to fully fund public education. Can't we come together? It's time to protect women's right to women's health. It's time to have affordable housing for everybody. It's time to stop the proliferation of guns. Ain't no way folk ought to be able to have more guns than they have food, more guns than they have meat on their table. That makes no sense. Isn't it time for division to be ended and love to take over? Can't we organize around that? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I don't need to like everything about you, but can't we organize for power? Can't we stand for justice? Can't we love everybody for just a little while? Can't we come up out of the valley? Can these bones live?
Man, oh man, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Folks, I cannot emphasize enough as we are having these conversations that if you are in any one of those great cities where the Poor People's Campaign will be activating folks, will be marching, will be getting folks organized, that you do all that you can to join the Poor People's Campaign on March the 2nd. This is a phenomenal demonstration. And I love how Reverend William Barber puts it, that this is something not just that it has never been done before, but this is a real call to action that he's asking God to place his hand over, as 87 million people will have an opportunity. Now, that 87 million may not show up at at the rally, at the march, but to know that you are working for a cause bigger than yourself, to unlock and tap into the power of the people power, man, oh man. So if you're in DC or any of those major cities, those state capitals, where the Poor People's Campaign are organizing, make sure y'all check them out. Be a part of the great movement that is happening, something that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had prophesied should happen. Reverend William Barber has picked up the mantle, continue to do that work of organizing those who are not seen as people. And so as we have these conversations, just know that there are folks on the ground, there are forces that are abound that are looking to change the plight of the people in this country, starting with, not at the top, but starting with the poor. Man, oh man. So we're going to continue to promote this. We're going to talk about this as the dates get closer and closer, but I want us to truly, truly get involved in the great work of the Poor People's Campaign. Now, speaking of the low income, I wanted us to have a conversation to look at the economic life of Black America, because we're finding, according to some new research, some new data, that Black people in this country, we are underserved, underpaid, and underbanked. And I want to bring my brother in, who has given us some insight as to how we can move forward. And I'm really, really excited about having this man joining us. We've had him on the show before, and I appreciate him for checking back in. Dr. Edmund Moore, who is joining us once again. He is an engineer, he's a father, and he's an author, and he is one to talk about financial literacy. Dr. Moore, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. Are you with us? Okay, we're working on getting him locked in. But I want to kind of get your take on this, folks, as we talk about this, as we're working on getting Dr. Moore in. I want to share with you very quickly just some of the latest data around the economic situation or the economic life of Black people. First, let's start looking at the country. I want to first start with how or where we are in this country, especially at a time where everybody is always talking about getting the bag, getting that dollar, chasing the money. Let me share with you what a new study had to say about where we are and the purchasing power of this country. Take a look at this. This is coming from Smart Asset, a financial technology company. And if we could put up quote one, please, talking about the purchasing power. The purchasing power, talking about money's value in terms of how much it can buy you, of a $100,000 salary dwindles in places like Manhattan and San Francisco relative to more affordable US cities. So we're talking about New York and California, coast to coast. And it dwindles because federal and local taxes, plus the elevated cost of everyday necessities, including housing, groceries, utilities, transportation, and more, can quickly erode the purchasing power of a six-figure income based on this new study. I want to go a little deeper in this, folks. And crew, I want to get your take on this. If you live in Manhattan, for example, and you make $100,000, this is what the study says. You in Manhattan, New York, you make $100,000, is worth the least, those six figures have an effective value of $30,914 when adjusted for federal, state, and local taxes and cost of living premiums, according to this study. The researchers of this study, they relied on cost of living data from the Council for Community and Economic Research. So you can go and check this out yourself. Other New York City boroughs are slightly more affordable than Manhattan, but are still among the locales where $100,000 gets you the least. In Brooklyn, $100,000 equals $43,376 in purchasing power. In Queens, Its effective value is $49,978. The minimum six-figure salary takes you the furthest in El Paso, Texas, where it equates to $88,840 of purchasing power. There are no state or local income taxes, and there's a 12% discount on cost of living relative to the average across the U.S. means it goes a long way in places like El Paso, Texas. Y'all hear me? Where are all the financial planners in the crew? Y'all listening to this? In San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, Oakland, all in California, a $100,000 salary is effectively halved in terms of what it can afford. Talking about essentially $100,000 in LA, San Fran, San Diego, Oakland, the effective purchasing power goes down to about $50,000. $50,000. This is crazy. The top 10 cities where $100,000 is worth the least, we talked about Manhattan, New York, $30,914. In Honolulu, Hawaii, you making $100,000, 39. The effective purchasing power is $39,148. Come on. Here in the city of Los Angeles, where we are, $47,762 is the equivalent purchasing power of a six-figure salary in LA. In Washington, D.C., the equivalent effective purchasing power is $48,734. Good God. In Boston, $50,109. In Oakland, $51,237. This is all according to the recent study from Smart Assets. This is something else. Ming, you checked it. Ming Lee Natasha Search. You said living in Manhattan as we speak, and I'm sure you seeing that money, man. You seeing that money go straight out the door. And so, if this is the economic landscape, then what do we do? How do we navigate to make sure that with all of these changes, cost of living, taxes, and all of the other demands that's on our wallets, how do we start to build a financial future for ourselves? Look, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we're going to try to get Dr. Moore in, and let's talk a little bit more about this. But I wanted to lay it out. And then on the other side, I also want to share with you how we are underbanked as Black folks, because this conversation came up during the hearing of our sister Fannie Willis, and her dad talked. First, she talked a little bit about it, how Black folks, that was a tradition of ours to keep cash on hand, keep cash in the bank, cash in the house. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So stay with us. The conversation continues on the other side here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Check this out. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are investing a record $7 billion into HBCUs. Billions for campus improvements, grants, and debt relief. Billions more for HBCUs. Endless possibilities for us.
When you talk about Blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause too long have others spoken for us.
We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're talking about the economic life of Black America today, folks, and I wanted to have to kind of have this discussion, especially as, you know, it's still in the very beginning parts, the first quarter of the new year. And as we look at where we are right now, going into 2024, the things have changed dramatically economically, not just for this country, but it also, of course, for Black America. And it opens us up to being vulnerable to all types of scams. Yesterday, y'all remember, y'all listened, remember that story we talked about with the 30-year-old mother out of Memphis, Tennessee, and how she had her five-year-old daughter, right, assisting her with giving grown-ass women bikini waxes. But the real underlining, I would say, motivation for that was not thinking about the mental health, the well-being of the girl. Unfortunately, the mother saw it as an opportunity for the girl to make more money for the mother's business. The reason she put the girl out on social media the way she did with the pictures and videos and all of those things is to promote her business. And so now in America, we're looking at situations where the our economic life is in such dire straits, folks. It's being challenged that we're making decisions, not even thinking about the well-being of those who are impacted by our decisions, because we're always looking to chase the bag, get the next paycheck. I got to get some money in. And when you're living in a capitalistic system, it puts that undue pressure on you to the point where you start to not see people as people, but you start to see people as a means to an end. You start seeing them as cogs in a machine. You start to see them as a way for you to earn money off of them. That's part of the understanding of capitalism. And that takes us away from our natural inclination as Black folks in the Black community, where we start thinking about collective economics. That's one of the great principles of the Kwanzaa holiday celebration. We're thinking more about individual growth, individual gain, more than community and collective prosperity. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this. We got our brother joining us now, Dr. Edmund Moore. He's a father, he's an engineer, but he's also one who has been promoting financial literacy, and I want to welcome him back to the airways of The Culture. Dr. Moore, thank you so much, brother, for joining us. How are you feeling this afternoon?
Oh, feeling great, Farajii.
Thank you so much. When I just shared some of the numbers coming from a study that was put out just a few days ago. CBS News reported it. Smart Asset is the financial technology firm that put it out there, that essentially said that if you're making six figures today, $100,000, that the effective purchasing power actually declines depending on what part of the country you're in, whether you're in New York, Los Angeles, California, or if you're in the Midwest. But basically, that $100,000 doesn't mean the same thing that it used to mean 20 years ago. That we're looking at that $100,000 because of federal and local taxes, because of the cost of living and all of the other demands on the wallet, that $100,000 goes down real quick. So next thing you know, you might say on paper you make $100,000, Dr. Moore, but once all of the expenses are added up, you actually living from 30 to 40 to $50,000 off of that paycheck. What do you make of that?
Well, one thing is a lot of times people look at it as regional. So you may look at it as someone living in the Midwest is paying less money than someone living in the Northeast or California, Silicon Valley. But I can just tell you where I live, $150,000 house in the Dayton area, Huber Heights area. You go 15 minutes away to where Dave Chappelle lives in Yellow Springs, Ohio. That house is probably about $500,000, $600,000, the same house.
Wow. So my question is, how do we navigate that? How do we get through all of this? Because this is interesting. Let me just throw this up there very quickly. Then I want to get your take on this. This is another piece of news that we got from Business Insider. They did a study where they looked at the average American debt in 2024, looking at household debt statistics. The average American debt in America is $103,358 when you look at the debt, folks, across mortgage loans, home equity lines of credit, auto loans, credit card debt, student loan debt, and other debts like personal loans. And this is coming from data from Experian, and then breaking this down. This is the Experian credit organization, but they're breaking this down. So you're saying the average American debt owes about $140,000. That's the debt of the debt load of the average American. The crazy part about this, Dr. Moore, is that it said in the same article from Business Insider that based upon the generation that you're a part of, Generation Z, millennial, baby boomers, that debt can go up. For example, if you are 18 to 26 and you do not have a mortgage, your debt is $15,000. But once you add a mortgage to that, to your economic portfolio, it goes up to $229,897 for the average mortgage debt. For 18 to 26 years old. And so that's a lot to carry if you're talking about getting out of this. And for Black America, we already know we're underpaid. We already know we don't have the access to the resources. And we're in a situation where the debt is such a burden on us. It's hard for us to maneuver and to kind of think outside of the box on how to get out of this financial place. Talk to me, Doc. What's your take on that?
Well, one of the takes is we live in a capitalist society, and the society is built on us being in debt.
We lost Dr. Moore. Did we lose our brother? There we go. Go. I'm sorry, Doc. I thought we lost you. Go ahead.
Okay. We have to be proactive in our own situation, assess our own situation. For example, my eldest daughter, she said, "Dad, I don't think I can ever afford to buy a house." And at her young age now, she's not in a position to buy a house. But 5 years down the road, she may be in a position to purchase a house. But then at that same token, you want to purchase a house that you can afford. And in the meantime, you either want to get roommates or move back in with parents as need be, so that you can save the money you need so that you don't put yourself in such a big hole. And you need to have a plan of how you're going to pay this debt off. And you don't want to have a plan where you say, I'm going to pay it off over 30 years. If that's going to constrict everything else you can do.
And so, I mean, when we're talking about, back in the day, Doc, I remember growing up where it was like this linear path that we could take, right? It was like, go to school, you go to college. When you come out of college, you can expect to get a quote unquote good job, right? Make some money. At first you might get a little apartment for yourself, and then you transition into a single family home type of thing. And then you start to live your life. You may have a couple of children here and there, right? And then you start to put something for 401k and retirement. I mean, this was the pathway. This ain't the pathway nowadays. A lot of those young people that you're talking about going to school, they come out of college, they come back home. They sit at home with their parents in their 20s, going into their 30s. Some of us going into our damn 40s. Yep. And then we're making some decisions. And then when it's time to say, okay, well, are you going to get an apartment? They're not even thinking about a house. The house dream is it seems like it's a dream of the past. So when you're talking about those type of changes, cultural changes as well as economic changes, how should Black America respond?
Well, one thing I grew up with was the concept of delayed gratification. So you cannot think you're going to come out of high school or even maybe college and think you're just going to go straight and buy a house. You may have to work a few years before you can afford to buy a house, and then you may have to do what I did and start with a starter house, not the house of your dreams. You can't be looking at what your friends or what people on their social media are doing. You have to purchase a home within what you can afford. And I can just tell you, when I was in school, I lived in apartments. My last house in grad school was a mobile home that I purchased over 3 years for a grand total of $450. And I sold that mobile home for about $1,000 when I left. So I was living below my means for a while and saving money. And you have to think outside the box about what can I do to put money aside to get to where I need to be as far as home ownership.
Wow. That's serious. Let me get one last point in here as we have to take another pause here and wrap this part of the conversation up. Let's talk about the banking situation. This is coming from some latest, this is just some data from the Boston Globe, where they're finding that there's a small percentage of Americans, about 16% of Americans are what they consider to be underbanked. And they say today, in 2024, 27% of Blacks are underbanked, which means that they might have savings or checking accounts, but typically depend on alternative financial services like payday lenders, rent-to-own services, and check cashing businesses. We see these places so prevalent within the Black community, right? And it's something that I think is so interesting, because when we saw the hearing for our sister Fannie Willis talking about how Black folks have always been taught by our elders to keep some cash on hand, this struck a chord with me, because in the same study from the Boston Globe, they said that Black adults are also the group most likely to be unbanked. This means they lack any access to a checking or savings account, often because of a lack of trust in America's financial system or belief their money and privacy are at risk. So, given the cultural emphasis of us holding on to our cash and keeping it under the mattress or keeping it in a shoebox, but then you have this other reality which shows that we aren't getting access to resources, that we aren't connected, we don't have the relationship with financial institutions. And then undergirding all of that is the trust issue. How do we reconcile these two realities?
Well, one of the things we have to do is look at the background of why we're here. African Americans and folks of color really did not have equal access to the financial systems until the 70s. You had going back to housing, you had the Fair Housing Act of 1968, which allowed us to even go to the financial institutions and have an opportunity to get fair housing. It wasn't until 1974 that Gerald Ford signed the Equal Credit Opportunity Act and signed into law, which allowed African Americans and other people to actually go and open up these accounts and all first time to just Black-owned banks. And so as a result of that, African Americans in particular have a negative history about the financial institutions. And we have not put our money into these institutions. We also need financial literacy as well. If we even step further back to the end of the Civil War, when the Freedmen's Bank started, that bank was allowed to steal all the money from the Black folks in it. And if I had to throw a book out there for people to read, it would be called The Color Law. a forgotten history of how our government segregated America, and you'll see the history of why African Americans distrust the banking system. Now, if you want to go back to
very
the case
quick.
about,
Yeah, go ahead, Doc. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish your thought. Go ahead, brother.
if you want to go back to the case of the Fannie Willis incident, because we didn't have relationships with bank and we're underbanked, African Americans always have felt a need to have cash set aside in case there was an emergency, because we were not in a position where we could run to the bank and get money. So that is the genesis of why we would stack.
We got 30 seconds left. Should we, as Black folks in this country, should Black America have to improve its relationship? Should we put our more money back, more of our money into the financial system, financial institutions like a bank? Should we have trust? Should we work toward that point, or should we look at some alternative economic means?
Hey, the bulk of your disposable cash type income should be in a financial institution. I will advocate that you should keep a small amount of money around in case there's an emergency. Sometimes the power go out, you don't have access to ATM machines or banks, and so you do want to have a little cash on hand, but that should not be the bulk of your cash.
There it is right there. Dr. Edmund Moore, we truly appreciate you, brother. Talk about your book, Doc. Where can people get your book about financial literacy and some of the lessons you've learned over the years?
Well, I have a book titled Financial Freedom, Doing Nothing Gives an Option by Edmund H. Moore. You can find that on Amazon and other platforms.
There it is right
on the web.
Dr. Edmund Moore, thank you so much, brother, for your time. We truly appreciate it, as we are this is just the beginning points, especially for 2024. We'll continue to have more conversations about the economic life of Black America here on The Culture, but I appreciate you, brother, for providing your insight and expertise. Thank you, bro. All right, folks, look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's switch gears. Let's talk about the culture, and particularly, let's talk about hip hop. We want to be checking in with the creator of BET's Rap City as we look at hip hop 50 years later, but more importantly, the fact that hip hop is at a major crossroads, as there are a number of conversations happening within the culture and the industry about which way we should go. And so we'll have that conversation up next with brother Alvin Jones, the creator of Rap City, of BET's Rap City, right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
You heard why we're marching, and it's really a launch. It's not even a march. We're launching.
That's right.
A 42-week campaign, March the 2nd at 10 o'clock in Raleigh and 33 other state capitals and the District of Columbia. This is a historic move to mobilize the most powerful untapped block of voters in this country. Poor and low wealth voters who make up 87 million votes. And it's never been tried before. Never been tried before in history. At the same time, the same message, same focus. And when that power turns loose, they will not be able to figure out the political calculus. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to shake things up. I'm ready to get up out of the valley. I'm ready for God to put his spirit on us. I'm ready to be used to change this nation. And what we're saying is, can't we come together? Can't we come together around an agenda? You ain't got to like everything about Reverend Barber. You don't have to like everything about Sangria. You don't have to like everything about Long Choir. But can we come together and say, it's time to end poverty as the fourth leading cause of death? It's time to have $15 and a living wage indexed with inflation. So every time inflation goes up, the minimum wage goes up. It's time to have health care for all. It's time to fully fund public education. Can't we come together? It's time to protect women's right to women's health. It's time to have affordable housing for everybody. It's time to stop the proliferation of guns. Ain't no way folk ought to be able to have more guns than they have food, more guns than they have meat on their table. That makes no sense. Isn't it time for division to be ended and love to take over? Can't we organize around that? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I don't need to like everything about you, but can't we organize for power? Can't we stand for justice? Can't we love everybody for just a little while? Can't we come up out of the valley? Can these bones live?
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. This is an opportunity for us to be able to speak to our issues. Y'all better understand something real quick. We ain't going nowhere. It is a continual battle that we see all across this country. Revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be streamed.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
He makes sure that our stories are told.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. And I truly appreciate all of you that are checking in and being a part of the great, illustrious culture crew that's just chiming in as we are having these conversations. If you missed the first half of the show, you can definitely be a part of Team Replay and listen to the conversation we just had with Dr. Moore and talking about the latest judgment coming down from Texas around the case of young brother Daryl George, the young teenager who has been punished because of his locks. So much to unpack there, but we had those discussions. So make sure you check us out at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free. Follow us on social media, and we ask for your financial support. And while you're there, also follow us. Follow Big Brother Roland Martin. Follow me at The Real Farajii. And we would love to connect with you. All right, let's switch gears. Let's talk about the culture. And there's no culture that is more prominent and as influential in today's time other than the 50-year-old hip-hop culture, hip-hop music movement. And I'm very, very happy and honored to have joining us our very special guest, a brother who has been in the culture for many years. He served as the creator of BET's Rap City. This was a major groundbreaking show in hip-hop history. And I want to welcome to the airways of the culture, Brother Alvin Jones. Also joining us is Coach Trinette L. Collier, our lifestyle coach, our life coach, and our relationship specialist as we talk about hip hop and so much more. Brother Alvin, welcome to the show. How are you, dear brother?
I'm good, and thank you, Farajii, for having me. But I was thinking you were talking about what was going on with the brother in Texas about the dreadlocks. And I have what I call it musical Tourette syndrome, that I can either recall or make up a song for any situation. First thing I thought about was Graham Central Station's called Hair. It goes, people ask me everywhere, is that really all your hair? And the chorus is, I just don't believe it's fair to judge a man by the length of his hair. And it still goes on. And when you say, I like the fact you call it the culture, because it's about experiences, it's about situations, it's about feelings. So what I really like that you're doing is you're letting other people understand this is all of this is about culture. So I just want to salute you for that. And talking about stuff, people are still worrying about somebody's hair. There was another part that says, if I thought you really care, I wear a wig up under my hair. So it's always been a part of the culture. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And this is such a major culture. And I see we got our sister Coach Trinette. Trinette, good afternoon. Good to connect with you once again.
Hey.
Brother Alvin, I want to kind of get your take because you are the creator of BET's Rap City. And growing up, and we're talking about 35 years ago, Brother Alvin, 35 years ago when that great show debuted on August the 11th. And it was a game changer. It was a game changer, right? Where we are talking about spotlighting and highlighting during a time, you're talking about 1989.
1989.
During a time where the love for hip hop wasn't quite as high, there was still a lot of political voices. There was still a lot of voices of resistance that were prevalent in the culture. You're talking about Public Enemy being at the top of the game. Then at the same time, you had NWA on here on the West Coast. I mean, there was just a lot of activity going on. When you came up with you and your team came up with this idea to spotlight hip hop, did y'all ever think that 35 years later we will be at this point where we're celebrating hip hop?
Well, you know what? It's so funny now that I go back. I'm having memories because you mentioned two groups that were very, very predominant in establishing hip hop for the future, and that was NWA and Public Enemy. And I had two different encounters with the groups. First was Public Enemy. So you heard about how radical Public Enemy was, and they were this and this and that, right? And so back here we had the Capitol Center. So the Capitol Center was like the first indoor arena to have a screen where you can watch the stage. So it was Heavy D, it was LL, it was Salt and Pepper. Who else was there? EU, Trouble Funk. It was also Kid and Play, Big Daddy Kane, and Public Enemy. So I'm going backstage. We're going to do some interviews. And so you hear all of this about how militant Public Enemy is. And I go in and I see Chuck D, and he's with his wife. And I think his daughter's name was Dominique, and she had to be like 9 months old. And I go, wait a minute. This is the militant? He's a family holding his daughter. That's a whole different. I'm like, nah. And then I'm out years ago, BRE, Black Radio Exclusive with Sidney Miller would have these music conferences. So we're out in Long Beach. And it was a topic, and it's funny because a buddy of mine, Bo Sampson, he's got a new book called What Does Bo Do? But Bo's been in the industry for a while, and he got me a tape of that conference, and it's me and Ice Cube just going back and forth because NWA wanted BET to play the video, and I'm like, this is vulgar, you know, and I'm not playing this. And what was interesting is, if you remember the Night of the Living Bass Heads video, that was a result of a conversation that Hank Shockley, who's with Public Enemy, and I had at the New Music Seminar, and that was like, I think it was summer of '88. But the whole point was because Ralph McDonald and Lionel Martin had music video box, it was so predominant in New York that that's where everybody watched the hip hop videos. Video Soul was I guess you'd call it the flagship. So BET was concerned about the ratings and getting advertisers. So they would put Video Vibrations was the catch-all. I played pop, I played rock, I played country. They just like put it in Alvin's show. So, you know, Hank and I, we're going back and forth. And it's funny because, you know, people in New York are tough. But, you know, before my parents moved to Prince George's County, I lived over in Ward 7 Southeast. Didn't live in a project. I lived between two projects. So, you know, I was on the academic team. Don't get me wrong. You know, I go over to my friend's house today and watch Jeopardy and like, oh, my son gets it right. But I was taught to be stand up for the conviction. So, like, my parents are 91 and 93. So, you know, my dad's tough as nails. I fear God and my father, not necessarily in that order. So I've always been sure of my convictions and how I felt. So Hank and I are going back and forth. He's like, you're not playing hip hop. What the hell are you talking about? I'm playing hip hop. And at that time, the movie Colors had just come out. So Ice-T was standing there, and Ice-T is like, I ain't saying nothing. He's playing me. So I said, okay, I got something for you. Since y'all think that we don't play any hip hop, I'm going to play a whole week of hip hop. So that was the original Don't Believe Me, Just Watch. And so I just said to them, we're going to play hip hop, and we're going to play hip hop, and we're going to play. It's going to be, if it's not hip hop, it's going to be a commercial. So that's what we did. I wanted to do it before school got back in session because I wanted as many young folks to see it, because at that time we came on at like at 4 o'clock. So if you're in Seattle or Oakland, it's 1 o'clock and you're still in school. So way back, Farajii, way back. I'm so old. I remember you didn't go to school for the fall season until after Labor Day.
Right.
So we did that week before Labor Day, and turns out, boom, highest ratings in the history of BET. So,
wow.
But let me do this. My first day at BET was September 17th, 1984, and that was my mother's birthday. And the best present any son can give his mother is getting a full-time job. So, right? So, I graduated high school in 1977. I wanted to have the first black television network, but I didn't. Bob Johnson had it, and I got offered a job at the first black television network. And the gentleman you had on before, we talked about financial literacy and things. I wasn't going to do a show on videos. There was a guy named Tal Roberts that worked for who's the guys with the bull? Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember the financial thing. But he had a show called Investor's Guide, and his show came on before mine. I was doing the Quiet Storm on the weekend. So Melvin Lindsay, who created the Quiet Storm, I was his weekend replacement and his vacation fill-in. And I would come in an hour early to put together Investor's Guide. And so that's what I wanted to do. And I got a call from BET to do the show. And so I'm working for the first black television network. I'm coming in, and that first day, September 17th, 1984, BET went that day from 20 to 40 employees. We doubled. And we're over at our studio over in Bethesda, and Bob Johnson comes in. And I'm thinking, yeah, man, we're going to do something for the black folks. And Bob goes, my goal is for BET to be the predominant source for advertisers to reach the African American community. I'm like, oh, this is a business. He says to Jeff Lee, who is the vice president of network operations, my goal is to pick up my phone from my boat, call Jeff and say, how's everything going, Jeff? And he's going to say, fine and good. I'll call you tomorrow. Boom. So I understood what it was. And I got to tell you, Bob came up with some ingenious things. He went to Budweiser and said, hey, Budweiser, you give me $500,000, you will be the only beer company on my network. You know, it was all about striking deals. So I realized that for hip hop to be taken seriously, there has to be an audience for it. So that first rap week, boom, highest ratings in the history of BET. Decided to do another one to go between Christmas and New Year's. And I realized you gotta get it when kids are home. They need something to do, and it's a special, and that's where you get your audience. Did that second one. There was a guy, James Ebron, who was the head of sales at BET, and they had just got a new office. They had been in HBO's office. James gave us his office to be able to do interviews. So in one room, we're interviewing everybody. So this was back when Q-Tip was with the Jungle Brothers. So we had the Fat Boys, wow, Audio 2 and Milk, MC Light. We had Get Fresh Crew. We had Eric B. Who else did we have in there? Sweet Tea, Shinehead, all of these folks from way back. And we were able to put together and do that. But what was funny, Roger, you had all these people waiting to get in, and it was like backed up. So James Ebron ordered pizzas and sodas, and most people, because it was a new location, we didn't have a whole bunch of seats. So people were sitting on the floor eating pizza, trying to wait to get in to do this rap week. Did that, boom, highest ratings in the history of BET. And then New Edition, when Johnny Gill joined, we did a special. That became the highest ratings in the history of BET. And then we did a special around Christmas. And MC Hammer had come in. And we took him over to, I think it was Johnson Junior High School. And so we had him on the stage. We had his brother Lewis on the stage. We had the chauffeur on the stage. We had the PR person. We even had the guy Bo I was telling you about on stage. And so we had about 8 people on the stage, and they were all talking about the different aspects of the music industry. Hey, you know, if you're good at writing, and if you can write well, then you could be a publicist. You know, my buddy Lonnie Duckett, God rest his soul, he had a limousine company. So we did that third Rap Week special. Boom, broke ratings records again. So next thing you know, boom, Rap City's here. And that's what it was. It
Wow.
was standing.
Wow.
But here's the thing. If I didn't understand what Bob wanted, I wouldn't have been able to do it the right way. Bob Johnson's whole thing was, I'm trying to get ratings. And if we can get ratings, and that's, but here, if you think about it, hip hop is 50 years old. Hip hop qualifies for AARP.
Hey, look, hey, brother Al, on that, I want to take a quick pause. That's true. That's true. It's true. But I've often heard from some of our legendary rappers and artists that hip hop is a young man's game, but we're starting to see that it's changing because you still have the likes of Nas and many others who are just like pushing the envelope, pushing the boundaries, and say, wait a minute, ain't no young man's game, boy. I can go toe for toe, blow for blow, bar for bar with any of you. You know.
Now, I was at the. I know you got to go to break. I'll be real quick. I'll try to be at least. At the BET Hip Hop Awards, we all agreed LL had the best performance of all of them. All of them.
Oh
yeah.
I can see that. Yeah,
he rocked
the bell.
He
rocked the bell. So yeah. And he embodies hip hop. You know what I'm saying? In a lot of ways. And it's so interesting. Just the other day, I know we're gonna take a break. Just the other day, it's interesting how the culture has transformed, where some of your most prominent hip hop artists from the 90s transitioned to Hollywood in a way that we have yet to still see in the 2000s, going in 2010 and 20. We haven't seen it. When I say that, I'm talking about like a Queen Latifah, LL Cool J, Will Smith. When you see these artists, we make fun of them now, but they came from hip hop. They came from the music. Ice-T. Like you might be like, wait, but you don't see that type of transition with the newer artists today or the younger artists today, right? And it's very, very interesting. I want us to continue the conversation on the other side. We got Brother Alvin Jones. We got my sister, Coach Trinette El Kalia. And folks, I want to hear from you, crew. Share your thoughts. We're talking about hip hop at the crossroads because we are truly at a crossroads for the culture. And Brother Alvin, I want to pick your brain, big brother, about where do we go with this? Because there are a lot of nuanced conversations about hip hop's accountability, responsibility, hip hop's embracing of capitalism and materialism. There's so much that needs to be discussed. So we'll have those things on the other side. Folks, stay with us. Post your comments as we're streaming on Brother Roland Martin's YouTube channel. You can join us in the chat right now, or you can post your comments on the Facebook page, but stay with us. We're still going to be checking in with Brother Alvin Jones, the creator of BET's Rap City, Coach Trinette, and you right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Check this out. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are investing a record $7 billion into HBCUs. Billions for campus improvements, grants, and debt relief. Billions more for HBCUs. Endless possibilities for us.
Talk about blackness and what happens in black culture. We're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot
tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Greg Carr, here at the Black Table, and you're watching the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by our great contributor, Coach Trinette L. Collier, and our very special guest today, Brother Alvin Jones, who serves as the creator of BET's Rap City, as we talk about hip-hop at the Crossroads. And Brother Alvin was just letting us know that hip-hop is old as hell, folks. That's right, 50 years.
Hold on. I'm 15 years older than hip-hop. I'm 65.
Okay. Yeah. All right, but see.
And like I said, my parents are 91, so you know.
Hey,
y'all gotta understand. Look, I went by to visit my parents yesterday. My dad's out here washing my mom's car at 93. So
come on,
yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. All right, now look, Brother Alvin, talk to me. And we're looking at this culture being at the crossroads, right? Mm-hmm. There are a lot of conversations about the responsibility and accountability that hip hop music and culture and artists need to play. What's your take on that? Because you've seen these changes and evolutions and iterations of the music, but now we're in a different time, Brother Alvin. We talk less about the social conditions, more about the money, less about empowerment, more about encouraging others to do harmful acts to one another. What's your take on this, brother?
Well, it happens all along. I mean, unfortunately, it's a natural progression and migration. Because remember, your show's called The Culture, and culture is about what goes on around people and how they react to it. When I was 4 years old, I watched the March on Washington, and my parents, like I said, they're still hanging in there now. My cousins went. I stayed with a cousin of mine. And I remember watching this black and white TV. Maybe it was 9 inches. They said there was 250,000 people. And I remember trying to find my parents. And that day was the day that my purpose was established. I understood the power of media and to get involved and get into things that are bigger and better than you. So where we are now is people are talking what they know, and there's certain things they have not been exposed to. So there's always a shift between the time things happen and the time things go. And so with the younger folks, what they've been introduced to is just that, hey, you know, we want it easy. We want, you know, introduce a young person to a manual transmission or a manual can opener, they have no idea what's going on. We, with this technology, have made things so simple and so easy that people think this is what they're supposed to have to keep up with, pardon the French, the Joneses. So we're all going to have those times where we don't do certain things the right way. The gentleman that came on before you talked about how we get some money. We're so glad to have it, to be able to spend it. We don't understand how to use it. So it's like the song. Now that we found love, what are we going to do with it? I remember, and this was like March, I don't forget the exact day of 1993. I was on a bus with C. Dolores Tucker. We were going from Howard University, Rankin Chapel. We were headed over to the White House to visit Hillary Clinton. And that's when Snoop's album was getting ready to come out because he was featured in with Dr. Dre and Deep Cover, and she had a concern about the lyrics, and everybody's like, no, 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 no. There's sometimes, even when you say things, you know, if you have children or have friends, you know when things are going to go off the rail, and you try to be there for them, and they don't want to hear it, and you kind of just have to sit back and wait until they're ready to receive it. And then when things go wrong, they go, oh yeah, Farajii told me not to. And he's like, yo, Farajii, can you pick me up? Where are you? I'm with them people. Didn't I tell you to leave those people alone? Yeah, I know. Come get me. All right. And they know that they're going to hear it from you all the way in that car, but they also know you're going to come pick them up. And so it's a cultural thing. We always want to be bigger, badder, and then things doesn't work out. So hip hop is going to develop. And really, if you think about it, music, as we go to culture, the culture has always been about what's going on, be it the blues, be it country music. If you think about what we did with Motown, Motown was like cultural changing music. Motown wasn't just for black folks, it was for white folks to see us. Think about it. The Supremes were looking good. The Temptations were looking good. We were classy. We used that music to change culture, to see, wow, look at that. You know, these black folks are playing Las Vegas. So if we understand the culture, we're able to use it better, but it has to kind of develop, become organic. And so, yeah, there are people who are dealing with issues, and this is their way of saying certain things. The question is, how do we take it to that next level? Because people always ask me, they go, well, do you think Rap City, the basement will come back? No, we're going to have Rap City, the penthouse, Rap City, State House, because we are now at that location. Think about Motown, think about R&B, think about the Rolling Stones and, you know, Bob Marley. You know, that was all about culture. Now, people always ask me this question, so I'm gonna hit it first. People always go, what's your favorite moment on Rap City? And most people think that it's going to refer to somebody being in the booth in the basement or a rap battle. No, it was the first year of BET's Rap City. What I wanted to do, now remember I said, I've seen Chuck D with his daughter Dominique holding her. I saw the humanity of these young black folks, and I'm like, how do I present that in a way? And so I thought about it. I want these folks that I'm starting to get to know and hanging out with and talking to, I want them to be seen for the human beings that they are. So I go, what's sad? What's sad is children in the hospital. What's sadder than children in the hospital? Children in the hospital during Christmas. So we got together and we took 7 rap backs. It was Run DMC, Fat Boys, Chuck Chill Out, Cool Chip, MC Light, did I say LL Cool J, De La Soul, and it was one other group. So we had 7 groups, and we took them to Children's Hospital. And we did a Christmas special from Children's Hospital. And Buffy from the Fat Boys put on a Santa Claus suit. Man, those kids just followed him like he was the Pied Piper. So what I did is, like I said, is to have these human beings that I know seen as for the human beings that they are.
And that's important, right, Trinette? I mean, I love what Brother Alvin said in terms of humanizing artists, which I think people don't remember. And I remember listening to Nas some time ago. He said in an interview, he said, you know, the person that recorded Illmatic was 18 years old. I didn't know nothing about the world, but now I'm a grown man. I'm much more mature. And do you feel like, Trinette, like when we're looking at the industry, when we look at the culture and looking at the artists themselves, that we might be putting some undue expectations on them that they can't bear?
Let
me just say this. I want the sister to talk because I would definitely want to hear what you have to say. It's like this. If we go to any church, you'll find out not all the pastors, the deacons, nor the mothers were people of virtue at one time.
I like how you said that, brother.
Did I clean it up?
Yeah,
clean it up.
You cleaned it up. You basically said they you might have seen them at a Freaknik. Look at him rubbing his eyes and everything. Just didn't want to say it.
All the Freaknik.
All right, Coach Jeanette, what's your take on that? The humanizing of artists.
I mean, I think I agree with that. I think it's my question would be for you. Do you see hip hop returning or bridging that gap in our communication, in our relationships? Remember, there was a time where hip hop was just evolving with the love language with LL Cool J, I Need Love, and so forth. And so I'm wondering, like, is the message mixed up now, like with the love language in hip hop? You know, there was a certain love of in the relationships. Do you see that coming back, like bringing that human view back?
Well, here's the thing. We have the ability to bring back whatever we want to bring back. It's have that ability to make the decision. If you wait for someone else for their permission, they may not even know you wanted their permission, if you know what I mean. So
good point, bro.
Movie, I think it was Casablanca, right? And Peter Lorre said to Humphrey Bogart, "You despise me, don't you?" And he goes, "If I took time to think about it, I probably would." And so sometimes we're waiting on other people's validation for something they ain't even thinking about. Just go ahead and get her done. If we want to put out music, let's do it. You know, one thing I find really interesting is the fact that Beyonce is like, "I'm doing some country music." And they're like, "Why?" "Because I like country music." Well, you're not country. I'm from Houston, Texas. And the thing about it is, it's funny. She's not the only one that's done country music. I did a video for a performance video for Jimmy Allen for Freedom Was a Highway, and so I thought I said, look, I've done hip hop, Quiet Storm. I got a smooth jazz show. I'm doing country. We are not limited. You know, if someone wants to limit us, then that's on them. But while you're putting me in the box, I'm outside the box. So
right.
So you're stuck in the box by yourself. So, but we have that ability, and that's what I want us to claim is that ability. You know, Rap City would not have happened if I didn't believe in something. And a belief sometimes is faith in something you don't see.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Hans Dobson was the person who was always talking about hip hop when I didn't know jack, what about it. But he talked about it with so much passion that I'm like, yo, tell me more. Because actually, he was an intern. He wasn't even working for us full time. He was an intern and not even in the music video department, in the sports department. But he had such a conviction about it. I'm like, you tell me about this. And he walked me through this so I could do it intelligently. So if we want more positive music, we just have to make more positive music. I mean, shoot, you get your garage band and come up with an idea for a song. I mean, there are not barriers to putting things out. The only thing of it is your biggest barrier is your doubt and laziness. That's it.
I love that. Hey, Brother Alvin, we got a couple of moments left. Quick question. I know you probably get this question all the time, but I'm gonna still pose it. Do you think, the format of Rap City was to get like you mentioned, an intricate, humanized look at artists who make these these music and create these, who is pushing the culture forward? Do we need that again? You know what I'm saying? Is that something that's on the horizon, for 2024, 2025 at some point? Do we need to bring back like you say, we might not be in the basement, it might be Rap City Penthouse, but it still might be a situation where we're having these in-depth conversations? Because I know I watch Rap City, and I watch all of those hip hop shows, whether it's on BET, MTV, and all of them other spaces, right? Because for me, it was always important to hear the thinking of the artist, like what they were going through, more importantly, like the inspiration behind the music. And you just got to get a sense of the artist. Can we expect that to happen over the next couple of years? Do you see that happening?
Yeah, I'll do that. No, and it makes sense because if you think about it, if you think about the Tonight Show and Johnny Carson, they always
Right. Come on,
and then
big
they
brother.
sat down and you got a
Right.
chance to know the person. Yeah, when we did Rap City, I found out that Chubb Rock had a 1400 SAT score. I'm like, whoa! And these are things. Yeah, to me, it's always been about infotainment. With me doing Quiet Storm and working at BET and doing things, the attention is to get you to come so that we can have the conversation. What I learned about radio, people when they're in your car, when you're in their car, in their home, in their bedroom, their shower, sometimes they feel comfortable with you to a point that you can now have a conversation, and there's that opening. Because without the ability to have an open dialogue, nothing gets discussed.
Come on.
They have to feel comfortable talking to you about what's going on. And without you knowing where that person has a concern or what the sore part is, you can't help. It's almost like back in the old days when doctors had bedside manners. They can sit down and talk to you. And they will tell me what's going on. Well, I think I'm having a heart attack. No, man, you just stressed and you ate what? Okay, don't eat that and get some rest. You'll be fine. You're not having a heart attack. So
yeah.
I think we have to go back to humanity. Like I said, for all of these things, man, for the Welcome to Rap City documentary, my sister called me and I realized it was big time because my sister goes, Mommy said she's not going to Bible study. She's going to watch your show on BET. And I'm like, oh. And I must have done okay.
That's it.
And that's interesting because we're in the landscape. There are so many shows out there, particularly more podcasts, not on TV, but there are a lot of podcasts that have kind of taken off. I watched Noriega on the Drink Champs, and then you have, you got Vlad TV, which is garbage, but you have all of these different podcasts out there where you get to hear the rappers, but there was nothing like Rap City, where you got to hear the music and you got to listen to and see the artists, and you brought it all together. So it would be an interesting piece. Brother Alvin, I appreciate you. What's on your agenda as we move further along in 2024? Can we expect any type of political movement from the industry at this point, especially around this upcoming presidential campaign?
It's going to be interesting to see what's happening. I think the main thing is to get people to vote, to express themselves, because it's very clear what the other side does, and if you don't vote, then you can't complain. That to me is the most important thing. All the things that people don't care about are the things you should. They make it so you don't care about it because that's how they hide stuff. So for me, what I'm working on with my production company, we've got a show called Women's Business Report. So next month is Women's History Month. We founded that back in 2015 as a tribute to women in business. And it was funny because I ran into a woman who owned a body shop. I have a TV show called Planet Vehicle, which is a show on cars. And I got started with public access. So I'm working with Arlington Independent Media. So I just turned 65 and people are like, did you go there to retire? And I'm like, no, I went there to recruit. We're looking for young people and people who are not young, but still want to get into the entertainment industry and broadcasting. So we have classes for them. And I've been having conversations. I went out for the Grammys. And so I've been having conversations with folks in the music industry and in the film industry about how we can work together. So I have to get to Whitney Knodel, who is the CEO of Arlington Independent Media. Only problem I have is she was a Eagles fan, but she was a cheerleader, so that made it a little different. The sister's amazing. She just got married to a wonderful gentleman, and it's funny because you look at her. She got a law degree from UPenn, and you look at it and think you're getting Michelle Obama, but actually you got Angela Davis. But shout out to Whitney Knodel Senard, who is the head of Arlington Independent Media. So she's allowing me to continue my vision, and we're going to be doing some great things. So look out.
There it is right there. Brother Alvin Jones, great creator, one of the legendary producers in the hip hop industry, one of the great creators of BET's Rap City.
Can I come back? Can I come back?
What kind of question is that?
Hey,
of course.
All right. Yes.
Of course.
I'm coming back.
You're coming back. Brother Alvin, I appreciate you. And more importantly, Brother Alvin, thank you for doing all that you have been doing and continue to do for the culture. We truly love and appreciate you, big brother. And I look forward to circling back to you very soon.
All right. Well, I got until I get my dad's age of 93 to get myself together. So I'm still.
There it is.
Tell my dad I'm working on it. All right. You know what it's like? Do you know what it's like to have a 93-year-old man tell you go get a switch?
Boy, get that switch. There we go. There we go. Brother Alvin, thank you so much, big brother. We truly appreciate you. Look forward to talking to you again. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, me and Coach Trennette going to have a conversation about parenting. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
You heard why we're marching, and it's really a launch. It's not even a march. We're launching.
That's right.
A 42-week campaign, March the 2nd at 10 o'clock in Raleigh and 33 other state capitals and the District of Columbia. This is a historic move to mobilize the most powerful untapped block of voters in this country. Poor and low wealth voters who make up 87 million votes. And it's never been tried before. Never been tried before in history. At the same time, same message, same focus. And when that power turns loose, they will not be able to figure out the political calculus. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to shake things up. I'm ready to get up out of the valley. I'm ready for God to put his spirit on us. I'm ready to be used to change this nation. And what we're saying is, can't we come together? Can't we come together around an agenda? You ain't got to like everything about Reverend Barber. You don't have to like everything about Sangria. You don't have to like everything about Long Choir. But can we come together and say, it's time to end poverty as the fourth leading cause of death? It's time to have $15 and a living wage indexed with inflation. So every time inflation goes up, the minimum wage goes up. It's time to have health care for all. It's time to fully fund public education. Can't we come together? It's time to protect women's right to women's health. It's time to have affordable housing for everybody. It's time to stop the proliferation of guns. Ain't no way folk ought to be able to have more guns than they have food, more guns than they have meat on their table. That makes no sense. Isn't it time for division to be ended and love to take over? Can't we organize around that? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I don't need to like everything about you, but can't we organize for power? Can't we stand for justice? Can't we love everybody for just a little while? Can't we come up out of the valley? Can these bones live?
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. This is an opportunity for us to be able to speak to our issues. Y'all better understand something real quick. We ain't going nowhere. It is a continual battle that we see all across this country. Revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be streamed.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
He makes sure that our stories are told.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my sister, Coach Trennette L. Collier. who
Hey.
is one of our great new contributors, and she is a life coach, a relationship specialist, as we talk about a host of things. But one of the big things we wanted to discuss, and this might be part one, Coach Trinette.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be part 1, 2, 3, 4,
I think this
5.
might be part one, but we got to look at the very important relationship between a parent and their child. And this
Yeah.
is coming up as a result of this ongoing feud between Monique and her son, Shalon,
Yeah.
who has gone onto social media to essentially say that his mother has not been a good mother,
Yeah.
that they are estranged and everything. And recently, I think it was just a few days ago, last week, Monique, as part of her set, her comedy set, as she's on tour with Cat Williams for the Dark Matters tour,
Yeah.
she spoke about this. She spoke about this feud. And she said during her set that she was in a Newark airport where she saw a TikTok video of her son talking about their relationship.
Yeah.
And she, after she ran into, then once she heard about this, she ran into an elderly woman in the airport. And the elderly woman asked if she could speak with her. Now, Monique said during the course of her set, she said, I had prepared myself for this old woman to tell me how effed up I was as a parent. I prepared myself to be respectful, but ready to check a bee if I had to. This is what she joked. She said, I prepared myself to listen. Well, according to Monique, this elderly woman said that her grandchild showed her one of the many videos of Shalon shared online, and detailing their account of their relationship, and gave her some words of advice. This elderly woman gave Monique some words of advice. She said that the elderly woman told her, I watched that. She said, I want to tell you something. She said, F that N-word. This is the advice that the elderly woman, 80 years old, y'all, told Monique about her relationship. F that N-word.
Wow. Wow.
The grandmother allegedly said, I'm 80 years old. I got a son 60 years old, and every time they don't get what he wants, he still tells me how effed up I was when he was 10 years old. Monique said that the elderly woman's message resonated with her, and she believes in the old adage that if an elderly person tells you to do something, you should listen to it.
I don't know. It depends, because sound like
No,
that.
and hey, Coach, this is my, now I want y'all to think about this. Is an elderly 80-year, you about to take your drink. This is an elderly 80-year-old woman. I've never, first thing, I know my grandmother used to cuss, but I never heard my grandmother ever say, God be pleased with her.
Yeah.
I never heard her say to my mother or to anybody that, you know what, your child is acting crazy. F that N word. F that B.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Me neither.
This blew me. This blew me. This is an 80-year-old woman telling this to Monique. Now, Monique says that she wants to that if an elderly person tell you to do something, you should listen to it. There's a difference between, to me, Coach, there's a difference between the older person, right, and a person of wisdom,
right,
who has some age with them, right?
Yeah.
So why are we at war with our children? Why are parents at war with the children right now?
You know, that's a good question. You know, we were talking earlier. It seems like it's becoming not just a trend, but it's a ongoing traumatic experience. And listen, I get it. I'm not a parent, but I do have many friends who are parents of young adult children, and it is sometimes a battle. I watch the parents go back and forth, and it is a battle with the young adults. And in my conclusion, just in my opinion, there was a lack of communication, not necessarily on the parent end, but maybe in between the growth. It feels like sometimes there's a sense of entitlement with some of these young adults, you know, and and I'm not understanding. Well, number one for me, I'm just not in agreement of putting out your business on social media like that. That's for me is not it's just not healthy. It's and I know this is what we're living in, this is what we're doing. I just strongly suggest that we don't do those things, because you have all of these ears, all of these words, giving everybody advice, and nobody's coming together to talk with each other, So it saddens me, like I told you before, it may be funny, to everyone, but it really saddens me that this is taking place, that is happening in these relationships.
Is it because of social media, or is it because, I mean, these are, and here I had to write down the parents that have gone to quote unquote battles with their children. I remember the situation with Kirk Franklin and his son.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that? I remember the situation that just happened a few months ago with T.I. and Tiny and their son.
Yeah.
How his son said, "I stand on business." That came from T.I. and Tiny's interaction with his son going on live.
Right.
I remember reading about 50 Cent and his son.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so we're seeing this pattern, and we talked about this, where these the primary relationship between a parent and a child is supposed to be a sacred relationship. Yes, we won't always agree and all of those things, but I've never heard somebody say about their own offspring, F that N word.
I know.
I mean, that blows my mind. And to me, it seems like it's a sign that we can't have a conversation about Black community. We can't have a conversation about the progress of Black people if parents and children hate one another. If the parent is one thing when you act like a child. Look, I got 2 children. So God, oh Lord, man, I hope my son and I never get to that space. I really do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But if there's a disagreement, who is supposed to be the bigger person?
That's a good question. And that's one of those hard questions, because the bigger person, sometimes we don't understand what it means to be the bigger person. I personally feel like as the parent, as the adult, just take that moment just to share your piece, and you pray that your child will at least listen, or you can get together and have a sit down. But I feel like sometimes, and it just depends on the dynamic of the relationship over time. We only know bits and pieces. We really don't know Monique. We really don't know her son.
That's it. That's
We're
true.
just seeing it. So we really don't know. But it just hurts my heart that they're going through this, and anybody else that's going through this.
Absolutely. Brother Damon, you said Farajii, even Kirk Franklin is leaving the door open for him and his son to reconcile and heal. That's a truth. That's a blessing. Robin, you said my mom, God rest her soul, would tell anyone that they need to fix it with their kids or kids. She raised 10 of us. We as siblings couldn't go to bed mad. She said you might not be able to say sorry. That's very real.
Right.
Grandma sings too. You said the most important thing is to identify what each expected. Often those expectations are shaped by the culture. Absolutely. Absolutely. Janae, you said, I wish this wasn't aired on social media. It's usually the one hurting that takes to social media who also has a problem communicating. Social media wasn't meant for mental wellness / therapy. Eesh.
I agree. Yeah.
And so, when you're talking about this, and I appreciate y'all crew for posting this, for y'all comments, when you're talking about these things, it just goes to show you that the family unit is at risk of being destroyed.
Yeah.
And that's at risk. Now, we can blame it on social media, right? But I think there's something much deeper beyond that, Coach.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. Like, I think social media is just the communication.
It's
just an outlet. Right. It's just the medium by what.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about some of those relationships, and it's interesting because so many of our of those who have power or who have money or who have fame, they always say, I do it for my children. I do it for my family. But then when your children come out against you, or when your children say you weren't there enough, or when your children say you didn't make yourself available, or when you, I mean, I get it. It's a slap in the face that you go through all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And then we working hard as hell. We trying to make a different life for our children, and they come up and they just mad as hell. I get the parental part, but then I also got to think about these are still our children.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I'm not going to let no social media, no he say, she say get in the way of building the relationship between me, my son, and me and my daughter. I'm not letting that happen.
Right.
I'm not letting that happen. And I guess it's hard for me to try to figure this thing out. It's really, really hard. We got a couple of moments left, but very quickly, Coach, what do you say for those parents or those individuals who are in the midst of some beef, some strife, some rift in their relationship with their children right now?
I would definitely say try to seek professional help, professional, family care. And I get it. Everybody's not going to go to therapy, but at some point you're going to have to make an effort just to open up the door, even if it's a simple, how are you doing? What can I do to help us rebuild, and then till you get to that point. So
there it is.
Yeah.
Susan Peters Chesley, welcome to the chat and to the crew. You said accountability and real conversations need to happen. Perspectives shared and emotional wellness is key. Susan, amen. Amen. There it is right there. Hey, Coach, I appreciate you for co-hosting with me and our very special guest, Brother Alvin Jones. How can people get to learn more about the great work you're doing?
All social media, all things. I am Trinette L. Collier.
There it is right there. Coach Trinette L. Collier. She is dynamic. She joins me every Thursday here on The Culture at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and we are happy to have her and her insight with us. Thank you so much, Coach Trinette, for being so good for the culture.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank each and every one of you for joining us in the conversation. Big shout out to each one of you, some of the new watchers. Welcome to the Culture Crew. Please don't let this be the last time we hear from you. We'll see you in the chat. But we truly, truly appreciate you so much. Make sure y'all do your due diligence. Go to blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app. Follow us on social media at Black Star Network. Also, follow Big Brother Roland Martin and yours truly. You can follow me at The Real Farajii on Instagram, at Farajii on the X platform, and on Farajii Muhammad on Facebook. And let's continue to build and connect. Folks, I am so excited. We have a fantastic show today. Tomorrow, we're going to be having some more fantastic voices, a lot more to talk about. We're going to be checking in with our sister Kimberly Morrow, our sister Corinna Denise, and of course, I'll hear from you. But make sure y'all stick around. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Roland Martin Unfiltered is coming right at you. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Have a great afternoon and evening. Peace.